So let's take a moment to remember the one quality that sets us apart from every other mammal walking the surface of the earth. And since the beginning of time, it is the mind. The development of our mind, like the advancement of our mental capacity. So let's term that intelligence, right? Like, this is the one major thing, the one distinct quality that differentiates a human being from every other mammal. Now, diving into each individual energies, starting with the masculine energy. So, when I think about the masculine energy, I think about a rock. I think about the qualities of a rock, the character of a rock. I think about the essence of a rock. This is a crystal ball, but today we're going to pretend this crystal ball right here is a rock, right? So it is solid, it is firm, just like a rock. I could throw this on my television screen and it's going to break it, right? So it's just as a rock, and it's actually quite heavy. This is how I see the masculine energy. This is the embodiment of the masculine energy in its purest, truest form. Now, remember that I said that we have intelligence as humans and our free will, right? So, here's the thing about this rock. If this rock is in a state of rest, right? So, this is like a lifeless state right now. Imagine me as the intelligence, right? So, if I take this rock that's lying lifelessly in my hand and I give it a purpose, what purpose do I give it? I choose and I decide that I am going to throw this rock so that I can break the wall in front of me so that I may move to the next room that is behind the wall. I take this rock and I throw it towards the wall. It's going to dent the wall, true or false. It's definitely going to make a mark. If it's not going to break it completely, it's going to make a mark on the wall. So here is the thing now. If I take this rock and I continuously throw it on the same spot on the wall, it will keep digging and digging and digging. This is just a solid element, right? So if I keep throwing it on the same spot, it is only a matter of time before I am able to create a hole on the wall that's large enough for me to pass through the wall and get to the room that is behind the wall. Now, listen carefully. The point is not how many times I need to throw the rock. The point is, this is what the masculine energy is. It enables me to make an impact, a physical impact that moves me from one point to another point, from one level to another level. That is growth, that is movement. But I wasn't able to achieve that because I am intelligent. I am not a person with hands and legs. I am just a concept, an idea, a living idea. I am just intelligence. That is all that I am. But now I am able to achieve something in this three-dimensional realm by the impact of this rock. Now let me define what a masculine energy is. So the masculine energy is the energy of action and the energy of logic. The energy of action and the energy of logic. To be able to make a direct physical impact that requires energy, you need the masculine energy to do that. The masculine energy is the energy that is used to create a direct impact in a physical environment. A direct impact, meaning it requires a direct contact for that change to occur. Now I was able to break the wall. I was able to upgrade myself, to move myself thanks to the masculine energy. And I was able to achieve that by taking this energy and making a direct contact with calculated force, with calculated effort on the one element that is standing in between what I want and where I want to get to. I was able to achieve that by this rock. So, the masculine energy, in essence, is the energy of action, and it is also the energy of logic. But most of all, it is the energy of action, and that means it is the energy that you need in order to work. It is the energy that you need in order to build. So, me throwing this rock to the wall is work. I have worked because I moved something from one point to another in order to achieve something. It is the energy that builds because it is also an energy of logic. It is the energy of skill. Skill is refined knowledge, knowledge that is being used, and it's knowledge that is being, mastered over time. And, master is an action word. It is an action word, like it requires work. So if I have knowledge and I want to turn this knowledge into a skill, it requires me to practice this knowledge. So that practicing, that continuous consistent practicing, is basically me working. The masculine energy is also the energy of skill. It's also the energy of decision making because it requires calculation. So this is the mental aspect of the masculine energy, is the logic. It requires, calculations. And this calculation is based on the physical, like what we can see, like what is perceived in the physical, because that is the masculine energy. It is a physical element. If there's one thing you should remember about the masculine energy, it is a purely physical element. There is not a physical state where a rock is not physical. It is always physical. So everything about how the masculine energy reasons, the way it uses its own intelligence, is by calculating. Now, calculation is an action word, but it's calculating with what? With what, right? It is calculating with the variables or the elements that it is able to see, the other physical elements in front of it. So, if for instance, right now I'm in my house right now, right? So if I see a fire outside of my window and I turn and I see, oh my goodness, like my neighbor's house is burning inferno, basically, like it's burning really bad. I don't need anyone to tell me that it's only a matter of time before that fire moves into my house. So I'm already preparing to leave. So that is calculation. So I see a physical threat and I make calculation based on my intelligence. And now I act upon that calculation, right? I act upon, so from my calculations now, I make a conclusion that, oh, okay, this is danger. I have to run. I have to get to safety. So me running, that is, that is a masculine thing. That calculation, because I'm able to see the fire. But what happens if, for instance, I don't see any fire and everyone else is running? Why should I run? Why are they running? I don't know. I look out my window, I see no danger. I stay put, right? I stay put. I might be a bit worried, but I haven't seen any reason for me to run. So does that make any sense? So the masculine energy, how it makes impact in the world is by direct contact. It's by working directly, right? Then how it thinks, how it reasons, how it, uses its intelligence is by making use of physical quantities or physical variables in order to make its calculations, draw its conclusions, and then act. So let's have that in mind. Now, let's move to the feminine energy. So, the feminine energy is quite interesting. It is actually my favorite energy to describe. So, when I think about the feminine energy, I think about one element. I think about this element right here. So, what do we have right here? Ignore the glass. So, what we have right here is water, right? So, I have a glass of water in my hand. So, when I think about the feminine energy, I think about water. Now, water is an interesting element. It's a it's a very interesting element indeed. It really is. Now, the interesting thing about water is that it is sensitive to its environment, right? It is sensitive to its environment. The rock is also sensitive, but not in the way that the water is sensitive to its environment. So now let's imagine that I was a refrigerator, right? Let's imagine that the actual refrigeration, like the actual cold mist or whatever, is right inside of my mouth. And if I wanted to freeze this water, I need only to blow cold air from inside my mouth into this water. And if I did that a couple of times, it's going to freeze up, right? So if I blow the same amount of air that would freeze up this water, the same amount of cold air that would freeze up this water on the rock will not freeze up, right? It doesn't affect the rock, but it affects the water quickly. This is how sensitive the feminine energy is to its physical environment, like its external environment, basically. Another characteristics of the water is that notice how I'm turning it in this glass. Notice how, I am turning it, right? Does it remain put like the rock? No, it doesn't remain put. It is moving. If I turn it this way, it moves this way. If I turn this way, it moves this way. What does this suggest? This suggests submission in a way. It suggests submission. So it makes the water really beautiful when you see it move. When you see it move. So I am the external force right now. And it looks more appealing to my eyes when I see the water moving than when it's just in a state of rest. It doesn't look appealing, it's just there. You might hardly even notice it, right? You hardly even notice that there is water in the glass. But when I start to move it, right, it looks appealing to the eye almost. But what the water is doing right now is that it is submitting to my force. It is submitting to my lead, right? It is submitting to my lead. So submission, that is another important characteristics of the water element. Another characteristic of the water element, the feminine energy, that I feel is kind of controversial, but now I'm going to explain why it is a very, very important quality of the feminine energy, right? It's okay, so this quality is creativity. Creativity. So, what is creativity? Creativity is the ability to create something out of nothing physical. It's almost like magic, you would say, right? So you create something out of nothing physical, just like in the concept of like the creation story and how God created the world and like the whole existence that we have today out of nothing, literally. So creativity in this way. So I see it more like a procreation because that creativity is coming from elements that exist in another dimension that may not yet exist in this dimension. So it's more of a procreation because I don't really believe that we humans can actually create something. So this is like procreating. So why I think the feminine energy is also the energy of creativity is hear this. So we all know from our physics class that water has the ability to achieve three states, right? Three very distinct states. Now, if I apply cold air to this water, it becomes cold. Now, think of the coldest human being you know, right? So it becomes cold basically. And if I apply hot air to this water, it becomes hot. If I apply more heat to the water, it becomes hotter, it starts to boil. That's like anger, right? Like, woo, anger. It starts to boil. So if I apply more heat, it gets to a state where it turns into a gaseous state. And what is a gaseous state? Like, have you ever seen a gas? Guys, just imagine it. Someone tells you there is gas in the air, like this room right now is filled with gas. I can't see the gas, but there is gas in it. But you could see it if you wore, I've forgotten what those googles are, like there's this special kind of vision, whatever, right? But like physically you won't be able to see the gas. You won't be able to see the gas. So you can't see it, you can't touch it. So it's everywhere, and at the same time it's appears like it's nowhere. Now, take note of that state. And another important state is when I continue to apply cold air into this water, it solidifies. Like what? This element right here. It solidifies like this element right here. So that is why I think the feminine energy is quite distinct. So it moves, it has the ability to shift from that solid state into a gaseous state. So that gaseous state is basically why I think, why I believe that creativity is one of the characteristics of the feminine energy, because it is you creating something out of nothing physical. It is the art of bringing an idea to life. Look at this microphone in front of me, guys. There was a time period in history, in human history, that we didn't have mics like this. We didn't have, devices like this. This device you're seeing in front of me, it came out of the mind of someone. It came out of the mind of a man who used his feminine energy to actualize this microphone, to materialize it, right? He used his feminine and masculine energy to bring this from his mind to real life. So does that make any sense right now? Okay, so let's run through the characteristics of the feminine energy. Number one, sensation, right? Because the feminine energy is sensitive, it is the energy that can easily relate. So you see how it is so easy for some women to really, like, when someone close to them is going through a lot and suffering, they tend to have pity towards such a person. So that is sensitivity. That's because they can feel the person's pain. Sometimes you will even see the woman crying. I'm sure most of you guys can relate when you watch Netflix rom-com or Bridgerton with your girlfriend, and it gets to a phase she starts to cry, and you, the guy, you're like, why is she crying? Like, it's just a movie, right? It's just a movie. No, the thing is, her feminine energy can sense the pain of the character on the TV or the person right in front of her. So it's like that frequency of sadness and grief that that person is currently in just sort of moves, not move really, but like it just kind of transfers. Because of that sensitivity, she's able to kind of grab that, like attract that frequency or like grief of the person, and before you know it, she's also crying, right? So that is the feminine energy thing. Another thing about this sensitivity of women is that is why you see that women are better nurturers. They are better nurturers because they can feel the pain of the person that they're nurturing. And this is why women make, better nurturers. Yeah, it doesn't happen with every woman, and we're going to get there, right? We're going to get there. And I'm going to explain why not every woman is a nurturer. But this is strictly a feminine energy quality. That sensitivity makes them a better nurturer. It makes them better in relating with people, like relationship communication basically. So it makes it easier for someone who has a good relationship with their feminine energy to be able to relate with others. So the second characteristics of the feminine energy is the submissive energy, submission, right? So submission, that is the second characteristics of the feminine energy. So when you think of submission, you think of things like faith. What is faith? What is faith? Faith is trusting and believing in the things hoped for, the things that are unseen. When you say you have faith in something, like it's not there yet, right? But you believe in it. That process, right? That process is a feminine energy thing. It is a process of submission. Like in this moment, you're not in your headspace. You're simply submitting, submitting to the idealization that that thing that you want, that thing that you hope for, can materialize. That is basically the description of faith. So it is a submissive character. Another thing is submission is also flowy, like letting loose, not being rigid, right? So the feminine energy is naturally submissive. It naturally has the ability to submit, to rest, to relax, to just flow, to feel, right? To move, to move. The creativity now, which is the third characteristics of the feminine energy, just like I explained earlier. The creativity aspect of the feminine energy now translates physically into the feminine intuition. So this is just the secret of feminine intuition. This is the secret of feminine intuition. They have the ability to gain some sort of interdimensional wisdom and knowledge. Like this is something that is feminine, because just think about that moment when natural gas is in its gaseous state, right? It is in a state that seems like it is in the physical realm, but the most physical part of it is in another dimension. What is the name of the device that is used in viewing gaseous elements in the air?
The device that is used in viewing gaseous elements in the air is called a gas sensor or gas detector. It can detect and measure various gases such as carbon monoxide, methane, ozone, and nitrogen dioxide, among others.
Okay,
These
I guess
devices are
that's
commonly used in
that's
industrial
enough.
settings, laboratories, and environmental monitoring applications.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so basically a gaseous sensor, right? Or a gas sensor, whatever that is. So think about the moment when that is in a gaseous state. So it is existing between two different dimensions. The physical dimension where you can possibly see the shadow of the gas. But then you need a special device that can view it in another dimension in order to see, how wide it is. So, like this is just how intuition is. Because intuition is also referred to as a third eye. I think some persons refer to it as womb wisdom. Think about how a woman births a child. I mean, even the creation, like how a child is formed in the belly, in the womb of a woman, is almost like a process that is happening in between two worlds. Because I wonder, like how, okay, the sperm meets the egg, they fuse together, and then they create a physical container. But how did the soul of the child, how did the spirit, the energy, the specific energy of the child, how did it come into the physical container that is being formed inside the womb of the woman? So that is like a process that is happening between two dimensions. So creativity is intuition, imagination, and birthing. So now let's talk about the energy of divinity.